My name is Emmanuel Olal, and thank you, Abel, for inviting me to share my experience. Is mentoring with experience, lessons from failures as well as triumphs in applying for scholarship applications. I think from the outset, I want to make it clear that you don't have to fail too many times to get a scholarship. I have had many students get the scholarship at the first attempt. I have two objectives for this presentation. One is to inspire prospective scholarship applicants to persevere and strategize effectively in their scholarship pursuits by sharing my personal journey and experiences. I use the word persevere because we need to work hard in order to win the scholarships. No hard work, no gain. Number two, to share with prospective scholarship seekers actionable advice and strategies for successfully securing scholarships. This presentation is more intended for people seeking a postgraduate scholarship, that is masters, fellowships, and PhDs, both in Uganda and overseas, but it can be relevant to those seeking undergraduate scholarships as well. I think some of the tips that we will share today will be relevant to other people seeking other forms of scholarship. So who am I? I am many things to many people, but briefly to share who I am, to those who may not know me, I'm a family man, I have children, I'm married for the last number of years. I am a nature enthusiast. I'm passionate about tree growing, conserving nature, and restoring nature. As you can see on the picture, which is on my right, I don't know whether it's on your left, I'm somewhere deep in the village trying to start some tree planting activities. I'm a medical doctor by profession, and my specialty is in public health, where I focus on evaluating public health interventions. So whenever I have time, I do management consultancy, and I have taken a lead on a number of public health related evaluations. I'm a career coach as well as a life skills trainer. And I love research as well. I have about 10 peer-reviewed journals and a couple of them with me as the first author. In terms of the scholarship affiliation, which is the subject of our discussion today, I'm a Chevening alumnus, and I'm alumni of Makerere University, and I pursued my public health from LSHTM, which is the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. And whatever you'll make of me at the end of the day, that might as well suit who I am. So here is a brief snapshot through my many attempts at scholarships. I will tell you why I was not successful. If I don't remember to tell you, you let me know. And so one is, I describe these years as anni horribilis, which is a Latin word, which means horrible years, where I burnt many candles without success. It was in 2015 when I first applied for the Chevening scholarship. By then I knew nothing about scholarship applications, but someone just shared with me a link and said, oh, you know, there's this scholarship, let's apply for it. So I jumped into the bandwagon and applied. And for sure, I was unsuccessful. I had made an attempt in 2016 where I applied for the Swedish Institute scholarship. I was so certain I would get this scholarship. And to confirm my certainty, I was long-listed in the first round of application. My name came out as those who should potentially apply for the scholarship. To my disappointment, I wasn't successful. And the reason was that they said I applied to the universities with my certified certificates rather than the original certificates. And that was the reason for my disqualification. I was extremely disappointed and felt I should give up. I again attempted in 2018 Swedish Institute Scholarship, World Bank Scholarship, and the Mandela Washington Fellowship, and all to no avail, which made me ask, you know, why am I not being successful in all these attempts? I thought I was so smart and I would succeed, but in vain. So one important lesson I learned there was to keep positive and continue building my experience. And so I continued working. I worked at Case Hospital, Global Health Uganda as a research doctor there. Later on, I went for post-Ebola support in Sierra Leone. And as well as around 2018, that's when the UG scholarship group started. For some of you who know it, we were among really the pioneers in the UG scholarship group around 2018. So the group started, and this was then my opportunity to start learning more about scholarships. So when I returned from Sierra Leone in 2019, I was so determined this time that I must make it through this time. I cannot afford to be failing time and again. I must get the lesson right. And so I made another attempt again. I found courage and applied again and again. So while pursuing my career, I built strong professional networks, as well as support from other scholars who had been successful, and reflected on my unique experience as well. You know, what makes me unique? Why do I want this scholarship so badly? And what can I write in my scholarship application? So I learned more about these scholarships. I learned about several scholarships, as you will see. And in 2019, I decided this time to widen my net and not just apply one scholarship and be settled. I applied for 14 scholarships. And here I call it Anna Mirabilis, or the Year of Miracles. And the prizes finally came. So in 2020, I was successful for the Chevening Scholarship, for the Commonwealth Scholarship, for the Window Trust Scholarship. I was on reserve on Commonwealth Shared Scholarship. I secured 3 scholarships, plus being reserved on Commonwealth Shared Scholarship. And in 2022, I got the Belgian government scholarship called the DGD Scholarship for a short course in the Institute of Tropical Medicine, Antwerp. And most recently, I was also successful for the Africa CDC Fellowship in 2024, although I turned down the opportunity. And so I decided to test what I'd learned over these years to see whether it also would work for other students. So to date, I was taking stock of what I've done, and I've realized that I've mentored over 28 students successful to win several scholarships, as you can see from this list. Even when I had not won a scholarship, I was actually supporting colleagues to secure scholarships. A colleague went for MasterCard scholarship in the University of Michigan, and I remember supporting him very much in terms of his applications and how he could strategize to pitch his story. Window Trust Scholarship, University College London, Swedish Institute Scholarship, Uppsala and Gothenburg, Ireland Government Scholarship, Commonwealth Scholarship, Commonwealth Master's Scholarship, Commonwealth Distance Learning Scholarship, St. George's University of London Scholarship, and I think the biggest of all, the Chevening Scholarship. I've been successful with very many applicants. As you can see, because of my background, the majority of these have been in health-related disciplines, but I'm also proud to say that some of them have come from inclusive education. We have had gender and international development studies. We have had advanced heat engineering-related courses, development management, and many others. And here you can also see that in terms of the diversity of the scholarships, we have had students receive the Korean government scholarship, the Think Big scholarship, the Universitat de Siena scholarship for vaccinology masters, Evans School of Public Health Fellowship at the University of Washington, as well as Fulbright scholarship for both the Teachers Exchange Program and PhD program. And on reserve, I have had students securing reserve positions for Rhodes Scholarship and several others for Chevening Scholarship. So the footprint is quite wide. And I feel strongly that the method I learned over the years work in some way. And I think indirectly I've supported over 1,000 people through the UG scholarship groups across Africa, through virtual mentorships and scholarship applications, writing guidance, using the UG scholarship WhatsApp platforms and Zoom webinars. But to render credence to these, people might want to say, maybe you're just boasting. I requested a few colleagues to just share their testimonies on what they felt about my mentorship and whether it was useful, and if important, to highlight key attributes that they thought they felt stood out when I supported them during the scholarship applications. And so one of my colleagues was very generous and wrote this. One said that Dr. Emmanuel was deeply committed to mentorship, dedicating himself wholeheartedly to ensure that I am thoroughly prepared to secure scholarships. Drawing from his extensive experience applying for prestigious scholarships like Chevening, Swedish Institute, and Commonwealth, Dr. Olal provided comprehensive guidance on every aspect, from selecting courses and universities to refining essay writing skills and mastering interview techniques. Beyond scholarship applications, Dr. Olal helped me identify my strengths and weaknesses, not only in academia, but also in my professional journey. He encouraged me to critically examine my choices and aspirations and life purposes, fostering self-reflection, and grounded me and refined my career trajectory, regardless of scholarship outcomes. This holistic mentorship approach is invaluable ensuring mentees excel in their applications while nurturing their overall professional growth and resilience to navigate any outcomes. I met Dr. Emmanuel through a WhatsApp group chat for all scholarship applications, as he shared different experiences on how to draft one's essays and how to craft your experience. I reached out for one-on-one assistance where I needed a second eye for my essays. When he read through them, I remember him confidently telling me I had a great story and he loved how dedicated I was with my work. Emma mentored me through the rigorous Chevening interview process. His unwavering support and guidance were instrumental in my success. He constantly inspired me to own my unique story and be passionate about it, reminding me that my unique experience and perspectives were my greatest assets. I won't mention the name because I know you know her. The other which came from a very good friend of mine who will be going to the US very soon for his PhD. I supported him through both Fulbright and Commonwealth scholarship. And so he had this to say that, Dr. Emma, I would like to say your mentorship has been invaluable in enabling me secure both Commonwealth and Fulbright scholarships. Your unwavering support, insightful guidance, and strategic advice have been crucial in navigating the application process and interviews. Your encouragement and belief in my potential have been instrumental in achieving these significant milestones. Thank you for being an exceptional mentor. I know some of you know him, so I won't mention his name also. Then this one says, Emma played a crucial role in my preparation for Chevening scholarship interviews. His guidance on how to answer the questions and effectively tell my story was invaluable. His feedback and support were instrumental in helping me excel during my interviews, enabling me secure the scholarship. Just to mention here is that students come to us at different levels in the application. Some come de novo from the start and they want to support them through the process. Some come much later and they need limited guidance. This is a very good friend of mine. She's called Zamzam. She's from Somalia. I know most of you here don't know her. And she had this to say, and currently she's pursuing her PhD, but in the UK, she was pursuing a master's in public health through the Chevening scholarship. So she says that as a first generation college student and later doctor, I never had the fortune of being guided during my journey. Shortly after graduating, I was looking for different opportunities in which I was qualified to apply, but I didn't know what parts of my story to tell. Emmanuel volunteered to mentor me and guide me through the interview process. I always remember the first mock interview we had and how I was giving very short and direct answers to his questions. Then he paused and informally asked me about my drive, my passion, and why I am doing this. And that's when I started talking without stop. I learned myself better through him and his guidance, and he continued his support and mentorship through my master's and after. I am always grateful for his support, and I kept his legacy by mentoring other students, giving back what I received. This is what I call empowerment later in my themes. Thank you, Emmanuel. You are my inspiration, and I'm proud to call you my mentor. This is from another colleague who did her master's from Korea, but she was on reserve for the Rhodes Scholarship at Oxford University. She says, your mentorship style was very effective during my master's application search. The time you took to guide me on how to write a personal statement made my writing skills better. I saw my writing get better by the day, and by the time I submitted my Rhodes application, I couldn't even believe that I had done such a great piece using your mentorship. Great piece. Your mentorship didn't only give me an award-winning essay, it bettered my writing altogether. I especially appreciate the one-on-one session where you would guide me on important aspects of the scholarship. The time you took to review my writing, it's priceless. All I can do is pay it forward. I can never thank you enough for your help. And the last one is from a colleague from Sierra Leone. She's currently living in Ireland. She says, I first met Dr. Emmanuel at Mabruka Government Hospital, that's in northern Sierra Leone, during my rural postings as a medical officer in early 2016. A little after a year's posting, I applied for a master's program in global health at Trinity College Dublin for the academic year 2018-2019. I was really fortunate to have met Dr. Olal, who made immense sacrifices despite his busy schedule to mentor me at every stage of the application process. He is of no doubt one of the most intelligent, focused, and selfless colleagues I have ever worked with in Sierra Leone. And thanks to him, to have made it easier in achieving my dreams. I believe in his mentoring skills and vast array of knowledge in diverse subjects. Many more would benefit if they had the opportunity to come across him. Overall, I try to reflect on what makes one successful in a scholarship application. And this will come in two parts. One based on the testimonies from the people I've supported, but the second one based on my own reflections. One is that when mentoring students, I aim at having them empowered. I don't only provide guidance to equip students with skills to improve, to win a particular scholarship application through my support, but also to independently apply for future applications. There are a number of students, and one reached out to me last week. I remember mentoring him about two years ago. He wasn't successful at his first attempt. This time around, he got a big scholarship at Oxford University. And that kind of attests to the fact that they have gained autonomy to apply independently, and they're confident to succeed without much support. Number two is to sharpen one story. I realize that I always encourage learners to, especially for us Africans, we are not so good at telling our personal stories. And so focus on their own individual uniquenesses that enables them to be different from any other. And so the mentorship tends to be focused on crafting strong applications, highlighting the collections of personal stories and career interests. To know, why am I interested in, say, gender and development studies? What aspects of my background makes me stand apart for this scholarship? The other one, to unlock your potential, to discover strengths, your own personal strengths, to present your compelling narratives in both your essays and interview. The other one is to foster resilience. There is need to persist in some of these applications. Some of them are very lengthy. Some of them take so long to hear results. Without resilience, you may break down. And lastly, is to provide a holistic support to realize that in these scholarship applications, you're not just applying to win a funding for a program, but you're actually setting out your own career. So that is a summary or themes that I picked from the comments that my colleagues sent regarding how I mentored them. But in my own reflections, there are 6 things. One is that in order to win a scholarship, especially big scholarships like Commonwealth, like Chevening, like MasterCard, Equity and Merit Scholarship, Swedish Institute Scholarship, World Bank scholarships, and name it, you need to own your unique story. Your unique story, every one of us here, and I know many of you who are in this call, you have unique stories. Own it up and bring it in your applications. Number 2, know about the scholarship opportunities. Learn about them, what I call be scholarship savvy. Know them and seize the moment when it comes. So know when they are released. I think this call is very timely. By August, September, we shall be having another round of scholarship applications. So make sure you know about those opportunities and sharpen your sword to apply. The other one is seek mentorship. A number of you are already here, meaning that you're actually seeking opportunities to be guided by someone who has been through these opportunities. Mentorship is important. What you would have taken so many years to learn, like it took me over 4 years to learn. If I had someone with me, perhaps it would have taken me 1 year to learn. Then I always want students to take the first initiative to craft their own applications. We have a very dangerous culture today in Uganda where people don't want to, they would rather someone else write for them. Pay some money and they write for your essay. I always tell students, you have to take the first writing and then I support you through it, because that helps you to own your story and to know your story. And if shortlisted for interviews, you can actually defend what you wrote. Bounce back. Some of you have made attempts before and you have been unsuccessful. Bounce back. If you really believe that this is your opportunity, you badly want this scholarship, bounce back from these failures and have the courage to try again. Lastly, cast wide your net. I know a number of students apply for one scholarship and they are successful, but that's not always the case. So widen your net and apply for as many applications as possible. Lastly, Carpe diem, seize the day and take the best opportunity that you get whenever it comes. Thank you, Abel. Over to you for any questions.
First of all, I want to sincerely thank you so much for coming to pour out your heart the way you have done, to speak to actually very many people. Actually, the focus is now our YouTube is going beyond Uganda. We have people from Nigeria, we have people from Ghana, we have people from Kenya who are using our YouTube services. As of yesterday, we had hit 60,000, I think almost 800 views on some of our materials. So our scholarship is really going international. Our YouTube is going international. So you're speaking to really international world. But I'm going to pick your brain. I'm going to pick your brain on the aspect of empowering applicants. What is your feedback to over 70,000 Ugandans who are on the UG scholarships group who do not want to be empowered? They don't want to come for such webinars where they can be empowered. They don't want to come for some session like Dr. Dan on Sundays, which are free, which they could be empowered. They don't want to search on their own, the website, for them to get some information, but they are waiting for the peak time of Chevening in September for them to run and come to ask questions. What's your advice? What's your experience? Let's begin from there. On the issue of empowering, actually you focus on empowering.
Yeah, like you see me, I highlighted earlier on that you must desire to get the scholarship and put in the necessary hard work to win it. Scholarships are very competitive, if I might say. If you look at the likes of Chevening scholarship, you find over, I don't even have the numbers, I think over 2 million applicants apply. And in Uganda, over 1,000 applicants apply. If you are to be among the about 30 selected, you really have to make your story strong. You look at Commonwealth scholarship. There are many diverse forms of Commonwealth scholarship. The Minister of Health, the Minister of Education is one of the nominators. Window Trust nominates some students. I think Forward nominates some students, but those are very few students. So if you are to win a scholarship, really you need to put in the necessary hard work. I have hardly met any student who did not put any effort and has got a scholarship. I mean these prestigious scholarships. I mean, there are other scholarships which might be easy to get. You may get a scholarship through your church, but the kind of scholarships I'm talking about here are those which are competitive, are those which require you to write and put a strong story. It's very, very important that someone who really desires to get a scholarship put in the necessary hard work required to know what the scholarship requires, to know what part of their story they could highlight, and how they could put the best foot forward, as one of my mentors always say. And so in the aspect of empowering, I mean, one, have the knowledge. That's number one, have the knowledge. Number two, take the initiative to apply. I mean, the second part is take the initiative to find guidance, to guide you through your application. This may not apply to all students. I know some people have been through these applications before, they know it, they have worked in very high level positions, this comes easy to them. But I think for the majority of students in our UG scholarship group, they are in this category where it's their first attempt, maybe they are not well informed about these scholarships. It's important they seek someone to mentor them, to put their best application out there. That's the more I can say about empowerment. Really, you need to put in the necessary effort. Without it, it's quite unlikely you'll win a scholarship.
Yeah. So let's talk about the issue of you sharpening people's applications. No, and not really sharpening the application, but sharpening them through the application process. I mean, you're having one-on-one with them. You're telling them you stop there. Why are you doing this? Tell me, why have you picked a pen to say I'm going to apply for this scholarship? You ask those questions because you want to sharpen their responses. You want to sharpen their answers. You want them to bring out their story, not this, I would say, superficial emotions. Let me use that word. Not these superficial emotions. You want them to pour their heart out. And some people don't see the value of getting a mentor to help you sharpen that. Can you talk about that? And could you just use your personal story? Because from all the testimonies we have seen, people are testifying to your unique mentorship style. But also you said you have a mentor who guided you. Could you just briefly talk about that?
Thank you, Abel. I mentioned before that we all have unique stories. I struggled a lot to write my own story, first to believe in my own self, that I had a story I could sell to someone to believe and give me a scholarship. And it took me quite some time trying to understand that. I know some students, because of their background, through the schools they went, they're able to craft personal stories. But I also know that the majority of people I meet don't know what aspects of their story they should share. So usually I start simple. If you reach out to me and say, Emma, I want your mentorship, the first question I ask is, what course do you want to apply for? And you tell me, okay, I want public health. Why do you want public health? I want to grow in my profession. Why do you want to grow in your profession? What job have you been doing? How long have you worked? I've worked for 1 year. I was a volunteer, maybe in Northern Uganda, and I now want to pursue my master's. Okay, in your 1 year, what did you learn? What did you see? What intrigues you? In my case, I had many things I was interested in, which was one of my detriments. When I come to writing a scholarship, I want to talk about non-communicable diseases. I want to talk about maternal health. I want to talk about so many things in one application. And my mentor always told me, focus on one thing. Focus on one thing. And I needed to focus on maternal health and child health. And in maternal and child health, to focus on newborn health. And so when I was now writing my Commonwealth, Chevening, and Window Trust application, I now focused on newborn health from the beginning to the end, highlighting the years I've worked, what I have seen, what I strongly feel could be done differently, and how the Masters in Public Health would help me to contribute towards making that difference. I can give you another example of sharpening a story. I once supported a student who eventually got a scholarship at St. George's University of London. She was working for an NGO in an HIV/AIDS program and had a background in counseling and guidance. So she reached out and said she wanted some masters to do with maybe child health, counseling. Okay, I said, okay. I said, okay, you tell me your story. Why are you interested in child health? What exactly difference do you want to do? She told me, okay, you see, I've been working with these adolescents and they default on their treatment, they get complications, and some of them die. Okay, fine. Why were they defaulting on their treatment? Eventually, I told her, if you want, I think it's better if you position your scholarship towards adolescent health and focus your application on adolescent mental health, because that ties up with the fact that you're a counselor, ties up with the fact that you've been observing adolescents having some psychosocial challenges to navigate in order to adhere to treatment. And so write your story in line with that, in line with how you worked at this clinic, how the adolescents you are working with were defaulting on their treatment and getting complications, the skills you feel that if you had, you would make a difference in that setting. So that's what I mean by sharpening our stories. And I saw, Abel, somewhere in your application, you said you used the 3 whys, or the 5 whys. Why do you want it? Why do you want it? You ask the why, until you say, this is it. I want to do public health because I want to contribute towards reducing the high death among newborns. So that's what I mean by sharpening your own stories. We all have stories, and the aim is to dig into that story and find out some unique aspects that can be sharpened to write a compelling scholarship essay.
And thank you so much, Emma, for really elaborating that. Me and Dr. Dan, we normally have one-on-one coaching program for helping students. And it is true, when they are speaking, for them, actually, they may think that that is a very small thing. They may think that is nothing. And yet for you, in your experience in coaching, you know that is the icon which they can capitalize on to make their unique story. For example, one of my Chevening winners for this year, she really thought that working on the national television would actually be her selling point. But when she began sharing what she does, she was shocked that actually the work she was doing with her own NGO, I told her that would amplify your candidature higher. She was shocked. So we had to narrow down and focus her story on that NGO work she was doing. And through sharpening that and focusing her work there, she was able to make it. And again, I agree with you that in Uganda, given the work we do, actually the other day, we were having an African party where we are having an African party here at University of Cambridge. And so students from Sierra Leone and Cameroon said, if you are at Cambridge, you can never say, I don't have a unique story, because of the African life we go through, suffering and everything. And they said that it is, if you want to bring everything you've gone through for the last 17 years, you can even, the person reading that story will even run mad, because they can't imagine how you've navigated through, and they may think you're lying. So they say that what you do is to focus on a particular theme and capitalize there and go deeper into that area and show these evaluators how exactly you did it. First of all, what did you do? What was the scenario, or what was the events, or what was the scenario, the circumstance like? How did you navigate it? What strategy did you actually use, you as an individual? What lesson did you learn when you were navigating? That helps the person evaluating to say, wow, they have critical thinking, they have problem solving skills, they are innovative, they can initiate, So I agree with you that mentees can come to you and they are all over the place. And when you tell them to cool down and tell them to choose one and go deeper, that helps to sharpen the application. And members on this call now will understand why they need to identify a mentor, or why they need to identify a coach to help you say, look, you are actually underrating this experience or this life story you went through. But this is the magic bullet. This is actually the magic bullet. Okay, so we have Nicola wants to ask something. And Dr. Emma, we are going to focus on, there are two slides you have. This one, the next one, for me, they are life-changing. They are really life-changing, but let's first go the other one first. Nicola, kindly unmute and go first. Go next. Emma, let's go in the previous slide. Nicola, take it on.
Thank you so much. I just want to say I'm very grateful for this opportunity to learn and absorb some of these lessons that you're sharing. Dr. Emmanuel, it's such a pleasure. My question is regarding the storytelling. You had mentioned earlier that you found that there's an issue when it comes to storytelling. We don't write our stories well. And I want to specifically talk about the inability to really sell oneself. And I wonder if you have any tips or on any lessons that you can share on how applicants are able to get into the mindset where they can really sell themselves. I've heard people say you need to write as if you are a white American man and really sell some of the things that you have accomplished, because there is an issue of self-worth when it comes to writing these applications. So like you gave the examples of the asking yourself the 5 whys. Are there any tips for applicants to keep in mind when they're writing the application so they don't sell themselves short? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nicola. And Emma, as you respond, you hammer that 3rd point home again. I mean the aspect of unlocking the potential of the applicants. Emma, there are scenarios where students come to you and they feel they are not worth it. They feel they fear. Let me use that word. They fear, and they're like, I don't think I can really go for this one specifically. I don't think I'm worth this one. I have met a number of mentees. When you tell them, let's apply to Cambridge, and they will tell you, no, me, I cannot apply to Cambridge. I cannot. And you're like, why? Like, Cambridge is for very excellent people. And you're like, no. Actually, from what you've just seen from your background and from where, Cambridge, you like to read your story. And they fear. So there's that inner fear. And what's your comment on aspect of them unlocking their potential, them believing themselves? Yeah.
I want to read another testimony here before I answer you, Nicola.
Okay.
It's a bit lengthy, so I had left it out. But it's from someone who we had to struggle for 2 years before she got through eventually. I think almost 2 years. So she writes here and says that when I received negative feedback from Chevening Scholarship Body in 2021, my former manager, Gerald, called me to his office to talk to me. We were all scholarship hunters anyways. After a lengthy talk with him, he told me that he has narrated my story to someone, that is Dr. Emmanuel, who got interested in mentoring me on how best to write essays. Because I have the experience and qualification, my challenge could be how best to write essays. After a week, I met Emmanuel, who then asked me a few questions on what field exactly I want to further my studies on. I boldly said journalism because I was working in a radio station. Dr. Emmanuel advised me to go for gender studies, looking at my areas of work at the radio that centers on ending gender-based violence and a CBO, or community-based organization. That is community-based organization that I ran. It focuses on women empowerment. So this person really was doing women-related work. We hit the road with him reading my draft essay at every stage and critiquing every sentence I wrote. At some point, I got tired of his unending critiquing and became reserved with my writings. He would call me and pressure me again. I had to get used to his pressure and went with the flow. At the beginning of the year, I received a negative result again. I said to myself, this is the end of the road, Dr. Emmanuel. Dr. Emmanuel called me about the result. And before I could answer, the tone of his voice said it all. He said, we try again this year. I said, no. He said, yes. That was 2022. The application windows opened for many scholarships, and we gave it a trial again. But this time, with early preparations through deeper research on the universities and courses, I changed a few universities and maintained some. I got admissions in all the universities I applied to, and I was happy and ready for the hunt again. Dr. Emmanuel implored me to apply for universities' internal scholarships as well. When results came this time, I got a rejection from 2 scholarships. I was placed on reserve list for another and got fully covered tuition for one. And that is it. That is the Think Big Scholarship at the University of Bristol. When I told Dr. Emmanuel about the result, he said, go with the one you have right now. No need to wait and try again next year. Just grab that one. Because I love the course offered to me at the University of Bristol, MSc in Gender and International Relations, I had to take it up with a wide smile. In September 2023, I came to the UK to pursue a master's degree, and I will finish this September 2024. So coming back to your question, Nicola, there's a formula which I'm sure you know, what we call the STAR approach. In the STAR approach, it aims at one, being able to describe in a concise way a situation. The situation could be that you are working at a certain radio station, and time and again, you had callers mentioning issues of gender violence or sexual and gender-based violence. And you took initiative. You reached out to the communities and organized community dialogue processes. So what did you do? That was the task, the T, and the activities, the A. Then what was the result from that engagement? So the STAR approach, or the STAR, if you add L at the end, which means learning, that is situation, tasks, activities, the tasks you set out to do, the activities you undertake, the results that you got as a result of that engagement, and the learnings help you to actually produce that strong story. And so we have, as Africans, including you, Nicole, I'm very sure, we have so many stories to tell. The whole aim is to look through the list of the stories. And one of my mentors always told me, Emma, just write 10 stories that you think are related to the course you want to do, 10 of them. So in my case, I'm a doctor. So, okay, there's a story of how I was an intern at a Beam hospital and some person unfortunately died. Okay, fine, talk about that. There's this story of how we went for community outreach and were distributing food, and I noticed malnutrition challenges and did this. Okay, another one. So you write like 10 stories, and then you review those stories and see, okay, which of these is most compelling? Or which of these, can I choose like 3 examples that I could highlight? Now, let me be more specific. For Chevening or Commonwealth application, or even Ireland Government School, even MasterCard, typically they will want you to write about 2 or 3 stories on leadership, something around volunteering related work or professional engagements, something around networking. So we would look through the list of these stories and say, okay, which of these was related to leadership? Let's choose some of them. You were an intern somewhere, you had some leadership opportunity. Okay, fine, we pick that. We go to where you started working as a junior program officer somewhere. We pick a story there. We then pick a story from another aspect to create that variety or diversity and richness to your story. So sharpening your story is really about using those 5 principles of STAR: situation, tasks, activities, results, and learnings, and then having a list of many stories and choosing from among them those which could best sell you at the end of the day. It's not about writing like an American. We are Africans. Some people have very good English, some don't have as good English, but they must communicate their story in a very concise and simple way. And I think this is where somehow you need a second eye in forms of a mentor to help you see points that you could actually strengthen within your essay. Over to you, Abel and Nicola.
Yeah, thank you so much, Emma. Let's go to the next slide. Members, if you have a question, just raise up your hand such that we can give you a chance to ask. Again, we have 7 minutes left. So if you're wondering when to raise your hand, it is now. If you're wondering when to type in the chat, please now. Just do it right now. Okay, so Lydia wants to go next.
Good evening, everyone. I want to thank the facilitators for the thoughts and for the experiences that have been shared. For one, I don't want to make a question, but I just want to maybe share my story or provide some compliments from the lessons learned on this session. I completed my bachelor's last year at Makerere University, but I had given a shot to the Rhodes Scholarship of 2023-2024. So the entire experience was a really funny one. Okay, I didn't involve anyone. Like I was just there, I was still at school writing my final exams, but I wanted to move from graduate school straight to master's because of that linear journey that I thought I would go for. But the very, very saddening bit was I tried to follow up this application, and the regional secretary for East Africa really told me, now you have a second class. What are you thinking? Some things you don't have to give even a try, like your CGPA is too low for Rhodes. That was really hard. And then the next thing was, when they put your name in a search engine, what only comes up is a Facebook record. Yeah, that was a slap. So it was really discouraging. So I decided to, relax and let it be. And then when I shared with my parent, he was like, the fact that I've educated you from your nursery school to date, you can't fail to educate yourself for just 2 years or 3 years. So you will further your studies on your own. But this year, I don't know, I met a gentleman from Loughborough University, actually told me, you can give it a try. So joining the UG scholarship group is actually letting me know that I'm not on the journey alone. So it's really nice. And thank you for the sharing and experiences and the love to mentor us. It's really nice and I appreciate. Thank you.
You're welcome, Lydia, and thank you so much for appreciating and sharing your story of not fearing to shoot. Dr. Danny, do you want to ask or make an addition, an input?
Thank you, Emmanuel. Thank you, Abel. I've got just a few comments to make and maybe 1 or 2 questions. One, Emmanuel, I've seen some big problem within our Uganda system. This issue of university rankings and subject rankings, it's something that really it's not known to most of our career mentors and other people who mentor us. And you find people going to study abroad to universities that are just universities in name. They are ranked poorly. They don't offer much apart from that scholarship. So I'd like to know what's your opinion on this, and when you're mentoring your students, do you put into consideration university rankings and subject rankings? Another comment would be on stories. Thank you for bringing this up, because if we can learn to tell stories, we have everything we need. People are waiting for stories.
One of the things here is scholarship survey. Know about the different scholarships. Some scholarships want first class, and they say it. Many scholarships just need a good grade, an upper second, but even actually when you even have lower second, like that friend of mine who went to Ireland did not get an upper second degree. She actually had a lower second class degree. So scholarships are different. Never be discouraged and say, okay, I don't have a first class, I cannot get a scholarship. That's a lie. It's just that there are some scholarships which are very specific. I have mentored a student who got a reserve position with Rhodes Scholarship. And Rhodes Scholarship, like you were correctly told, they always want some unique individual stories. She only lost out because the person who beat her, who came first, during COVID-19, developed an online platform for something like sharing knowledge about COVID preventive measures. That's what really gave that student an edge. Otherwise, we had put forward a very good story looking at the innovations she had around agriculture and many other livelihood programs around microfinance. It was a very strong story, but the other person's story was more aligned to the time. So don't be discouraged that there is this scholarship that only wants first class. Chevening doesn't want first class. If you have it, good. Commonwealth, masters, they don't need a first class, they need upper second. Commonwealth share tend to favor first class. so know about the scholarships. About university ranking, I always first tell students to look at the course they want to do. What course do you want to do? If you find that the course you want to do is at the University of Bristol and not in Cambridge or Oxford, I would always encourage you go to Bristol then, because that is what you want to do. You see, at the end of the day, I think we study masters for different reasons. Some people are studying to get into big organizations, the UNs, the World Banks, and etc. Some people want very specific skill sets. I had a friend who was focused on water engineering, and that's what he wanted, because he wanted to start his own company when he comes back to Uganda. He tried so many scholarships, and the one that gave him was in Taiwan. Actually, I forgot to add that to the list of the scholarships there. So was in Taiwan, and it was in water engineering. They gave him a scholarship, and we agreed that he should go for it. He is so proud that he took up that scholarship. So whereas university ranking may matter in certain sectors, it does not matter in some other sectors. I think the first most important thing is to decide the course you want. If that course that you want is in a high-ranking university and you have the necessary grades and requirements for the course, go for the high-ranking university. But if it is not in the high-ranking universities and you badly want that course, then go where that course is. That's the advice I would give you. Ranking may not, look, Makerere University, whereas it ranks high in Uganda, in the world global ranking is very low. You see? But it ranks highly here. So my cutting shots is that go for the courses you want. And in terms of scholarship application, be resilient. Persist, get people who support you to write your strong award-winning essays, and seize the moment like you saw here. Carpe diem is a Spanish word for, or Latin word for, seize the day. Over to you, Abel, and thank you for the opportunity of inviting me here. And I want to thank all the colleagues who agreed to write their feedback regarding my mentorship. Thank you all.
Dr. Emma, you forgot to mention, how can they get to you, supposing they want to come for coaching and your mentorship program? I think you, for either on the first slide, maybe you moved a bit faster. How can they get to you? Maybe you leave the contacts in the chat. How can they get to you for your services and for your help?
I'm actually there on the UG Scholarship Group 3, 7, and 9. I'm there. Of course, nowadays I'm a bit busy. So when invited like this, I can always come and mentor. And I tend now to take on very few group of students to mentor at a time, because it's very time consuming. But if you need me for further details, Abel, you have my contact. We can share it later with those who may need it. We see how to help them along the way.